External approval addiction is exhausting because when your self-worth is dependent on things outside of you, you're always on edge and your nervous system never gets to rest. So if you've ever felt amazing one minute and completely deflated the next because of something someone said or something that happened or didn't happen, then this video is for you. I'm Angie Hawkins, the Inner Glow Coach, and I will tell you the truth, but I do it with compassion because anything I've talked about, trust me, I've been there. And today we're talking about the thing that keeps a lot of high achieving, extremely intelligent women stuck, and that is an addiction to external approval. And this is how it plays out. It can play out in many different ways in life, but to give you an example, a few days ago, I was reading through my YouTube comments, and there was a comment from this girl. I think the video was about perfectionism. And her comment said, she was like, I know this is off topic, but you're really beautiful and you have nice energy or something like that. And my ego got a little hit and I was like, ooh. And then later I was reading more comments and this guy basically told me that he hated my glasses and they look like crap. And I was like, ooh. And then later that day, I was at the gym and I was resting in between sets. And this woman came out of nowhere and she was like, you're so beautiful. And I was like, ooh. And then after the gym, I went to Target and I bought cigarette lighters because not that I have to explain why I'm buying cigarette lighters. I don't smoke. I use them to light candles and sage, but cigarette lighters, because they tend to be used for cigarettes, it's an age-restricted item. So I had to show the cashier my ID, and she read the year of my birthday wrong. So as she was typing it into her screen, she was like 6/17/1970. And I was like, ooh, she thinks I look 55. And my point is, old me, who was codependent on external validation and needed things outside of me to determine my self-worth, I would have been on a roller coaster because I needed those positive hits of external validation for those dopamine hits to feel good about myself. And then in the negative external validation, like I would have been, that just would have like set me reeling. I would have been overanalyzing, like, well, what doesn't he like about my glasses? And ruminating, and just, it would have consumed my entire day because you're getting pulled in all these different directions because your worth is outside of yourself. So that is not a good state to be in because it keeps your nervous system in this hyper-vigilant state. So it's always on edge. It's always scanning the room to make sure that people like you or whatever. Or you see this a lot on social media. Some people get addicted to the comments or the reactions or the likes. And when you are addicted to that kind of validation, you don't feel safe without it because you're looking for safety outside of you. But the truth is, safety and true validation comes from inside of you. And my entire life changed when I learned to create that internal safety, and more importantly, or just as importantly, my internal sense of worth. Because when I decided my worth and started focusing on myself, and if I was happy with who I was, and if I was living in integrity, and if I was proud of who I was, and if I was being the best version of myself at any given time, then that's all that mattered. It doesn't matter what anyone else says about me or if they like my glasses or not, and the compliments are nice, but I don't need them. I don't need people to tell me how I look for me to feel good about myself. And this is such an empowering place to be, especially from the negative feedback side, because I used to take negative feedback. And just to be clear, when I say negative feedback, I'm talking about people like the guy in my YouTube comments who basically tell me my glasses look like shit. Constructive criticism is acceptable. And even then you have to use it through a lens of discernment because sometimes people just don't know you. And same thing with positive feedback. People don't know you as well as you know you, so you always have to filter any feedback through discernment. But people who are just straight up hating on you, that is a they problem, that is not a you problem. I used to take that kind of feedback so personally because I thought something was wrong with me. But when I finally had that internally sourced validation, which is what I call the inner glow, I realized that I actually like having haters because people don't hate on people who are playing small. They don't hate on women who are hiding. They don't hate on women who are dimming their light and shrinking to be pleasing to everybody. People hate on visible women, they hate on fully expressed women, and because it's triggering something inside of them. And I know this because I used to be one of those people. I used to be one of those people when I saw someone on social media who was like dancing or expressing themselves. I called it cringy because I'm like, oh my God, what are they doing? But underneath all of that was envy because I wished I could be more visible. Because for a long, long time, and I still have this to some extent, I had a huge fear of allowing myself to be seen. So when I saw someone else who wasn't afraid or didn't let that fear get in their way, it triggered something in me. So my reaction was my shadow. It had nothing to do with them. So when you go from this shift of, I hope they approve of me, or like, what am I doing wrong? Or, what's wrong with me? I hope they like me, to I approve of myself and I do not give a F if anyone else does. I cannot tell you how freeing and liberating that is. And trust me, we all have that inside of us. It's again, we all have this light inside of us. And this is my whole philosophy. We were born in this light with this light inside of us because you see little kids, they're running around, they're screaming, their clothes are dirty, their clothes don't even match. They do not give a shit. They're just happy in who they are. But as we go along life, society systems, school systems, family systems tell us who we should or should not be, and we slowly start to conform to these things outside of ourselves, and it dims our light because it's taking us out of who we are because we're conforming to things outside of ourselves. So also, if this is you, no shame because we've all been conditioned to do this. So it's all about rekindling this light inside of you. So if any of this resonates, or if you can relate to having an external approval addiction, and just to be clear, I'm not sure that it ever goes away because like you still get pulled in those moments. Like the other day when I was reading the comments or interacting with people, like I still had that like 30 seconds of like high or low. The only difference was it didn't derail my day or pull me out of who I was as a person. I just had that moment of the human experience and having my feelings. So if any of this is relatable to you, I invite you to watch my free 3-day self-compassion reboot on my YouTube videos. It's in my playlist. And this is for anybody who is just ready to make some changes in their life and start rekindling their inner light and coming home to themselves. And it's not about fixing who you are or changing who you are. It's about nervous system safety, self-trust, and the beginning of a different way to live with rekindling that inner light. So if you can relate to external approval addiction, leave a comment. I would love to hear your experience. Otherwise, check out my self-compassion reboot playlist and let me know what you think of that there. And until next time, I will see you next week.